to order on May 19th, 2021. I guess, do you want to read the disclaimer, please, Angela?
Yes, thank you so much. And I would just like to point out that Warren Slocum, our chair, did just join us. So thank you so much.
Okay.
So for those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment period, and for each item on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and inform you that you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. Please note that members of the public must wait for the prompt in connection with each agenda item. For example, you may not raise your hand in the beginning of the meeting if you wish to speak later in the meeting. Written comments that were submitted will be read in advance by staff during discussion of appropriate agenda items. Thank you. And welcome, Chair Slocum.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody. I thought the Zoom link was on my calendar, but it wasn't. So I had to go fish for your email, Angela. And so I apologize to everybody. But if we could now, item 1 we'll move to, and just it's a roll call. So maybe Angela, you could take the roll.
Thank you. Commissioner Cosgrove?
Here.
Commissioner Draper?
Here.
Commissioner Horsley? Commissioner Lohman?
Here.
Commissioner Warbeck?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Neill?
Here.
Chairman Slocum?
Here.
And I would like to point that we have alternate members Katie Martin, Jim O'Neill, and Diana Reddy as attendees. And staff, we have Marta Poyatos, Rob Bartoli, legal counsel Rebecca Archer, and support from Janice Lujan. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, Rebecca. Nice to have you here. I don't know why my video isn't showing. Do you guys see me, or do you see that little white outline?
We
I
see you.
We see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll
Through the
move to
chair,
item
if I
number
may.
2 now. And as previously mentioned, public comments. The public can comment on items not on the agenda. It will now be at the beginning of this meeting, and we'll move to item 2, which, Madam Clerk, did we receive any written public comments, or do we have any hands raised out there?
Thank you, Chairman. And before we move on, I would like to note that Commissioner Horsley has joined our meeting as well. And
Very good.
we did not receive any written comments for items not on the agenda. And as of right now, I do not have any hands raised from the public.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And we'll, since there's no public comment, we'll close the public comment period now for items not on the agenda. And we'll move to item number 3, if that's okay with everybody, which is the consent agenda. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matters that are listed on our agendas for consent. And does someone want to make a motion to approve the consent or make any changes?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
Very good. You want to call the roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Cosgrove?
Yes.
Commissioner Draper?
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley?
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman?
Yes.
Commissioner Warbeck?
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill?
Yes.
Chairman Slocum?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your
Thank you,
motion passes.
everybody. Thank you. We'll move to item number 4 on our agenda today, which is a consideration of an authorization of a contract with the consulting firm of Berkson Associates in association with Policy Consulting Associates, LLC, for the preparation of a municipal service review and sphere of influence update for the city of East Palo Alto, specifically the East Palo Alto Sanitary District and the West Bay Sanitary District. And I believe that staff is prepared to make a presentation on this.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Slocum and commissioners. You received a staff report dated May 12th that recommends that the commission authorize me to execute a contract with Berkson Associates and in association with Policy Consulting Associates to prepare a municipal service review, or MSR, and sphere of influence update for the city of East Palo Alto Sanitary District, and West Bay Sanitary District for the term starting May 19th, 2021 through March 31st, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $129,475. Execution of the contract is conditioned upon receipt of the corresponding funds from the developers. Attached to the staff report is a letter from Sobrato organizations summarizing the affected, entitled, and pending development projects in the city and indicating that the funds for the municipal service review will be submitted within 2 weeks of today's hearing. On Friday, an addendum was sent out that contains the price proposal from Berkson Associates and Policy Consulting Associates. And then this afternoon, you received a letter from East Palo Alto Sanitary District Board Member Dennis Scherzer regarding the City of East Palo Alto's environmental document on the 2016 City of East Palo Alto General Plan Update. Today's recommended action responds to a request for prioritized MSR by various developers that are listed in the Sobrato letter and the City of East Palo Alto because of an inability to obtain will serve letters from East Palo Alto Sanitary District for new development in the city. Prior action by the commission was to authorize staff to move forward with the request for proposals, or RFP, conditioned upon the developers funding the cost of the staff time to prepare the RFP and the cost of the municipal service review. Also, the commission directed that time be allowed for the developers, the city, and the East Palo Alto Sanitary District to work towards pursue mediation and consensus. And when there was an impasse in that, that's when staff issued the RFP. On February 19th, the RFP was issued and for the municipal service review and sphere update. And we posted it on the LAFCo website, LAFCo, California Association LAFCO's website, and also on San Mateo County's public purchase website. At the close of the proposals submittal deadline, proposals were submitted by 4 firms that varied in terms of their approach, the team member size, timelines, and costs ranging from $75,090 to $129,475, respectively. Staff reviewed proposals and interviewed 2 of the firms, and after doing so, we concluded that Berkson Associates, in association with Policy Consulting Associates, LLC, would provide the most comprehensive municipal service review. The staff report includes background on the consultants and their extensive experience preparing municipal service reviews and other studies involving a broad range of types of agencies. The not to exceed contract amount of $129,475 will have no impact on the LAFCo budget as it's being funded by the affected developers. I should note that the staff report incorrectly stated that there was a resolution attached. The resolution is the standard form of resolution that would be signed by the chair if authorized by the commission. And so the staff recommendation is that by resolution, the commission authorized the executive officer to execute a contract with Berkson Associates in association with Policy Consulting Associates, LLC, to prepare the municipal service review and sphere of influence update on the City of East Palo Alto Sanitary District, and West Bay Sanitary District with a term of May 19th, 2021 through March 31st, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $129,475 upon receipt of the corresponding funds from the developers. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for the report. It's appreciated. We are, for members of the public, we are on item 4, which is the contract and for the sphere of influence study for the City of East Palo Alto Sanitary and West Bay Sanitary Districts. And Madam Clerk, I'm wondering if there are people with hands raised or if we've received written comments. We could take public comment at this point in time.
Thank you, Chairman. We did receive a written comment, and that was circulated to all the commissioners today, as it was received today. And I do have 2 hands raised, one from Akin and one from Dennis Scherzer. So if we can get Janice the timer for 2, thank you so much. And for those that are joining by phone, just a reminder that you can press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. And I will first call on Akin, followed by Dennis. Akin, please accept this request to unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, honorable commissioners, and thank you for moving in this direction. The only thing that I want to add after going through the staff report is that it is important and imperative that the scope of work look at the provision of the California Constitution with regards to financing infrastructure for expansion. So I think we need to include that as part of the scope. I did mention this sometimes a while ago, and it is my expectation that the staff report will speak to it, but it did not. So I want us to incorporate that into the consultant scope of work to look at what does the Constitution say and what wiggle room does special districts have in assisting developments and at the same time satisfying the requirement of the Constitution. I would also like the consultant to look at the Sanitary District Act of 1923 and make sure that whatever recommendations or whatever findings they are coming up with comply with the provision of the law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akin. I will now call on Dennis Scherzer, followed by Betsy Yanis. Mr. Scherzer, please accept this request to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Mr. Scherzer, you have to accept the request.
Now, can you hear me? I had to unmute.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I want to confirm what Akin said. It's very important. He brought out the 2 basic legal principles. I am distressed that we're even here at all. As I pointed out in my letter, way back when the city did their general plan and their draft EIR, they said, sewer infrastructure for new development require development projects to pay for their share of sewer infrastructure improvements necessitated by that development. Then they go on to say the exact sizing, location, extent of future improvements are not known at this time. As such, the impact would be considered significant and unavoidable. Then this complaint from Sobrato and that we failed to serve them is based on this fantasy that we should have been able to predict that they were coming, even though the city couldn't, and provide the necessary source for them. So, you know, we're a long way from integrity with this process, and that concerned me. And then they go on to then say that we have a 24-inch trunk line, and that'll be adequate for all that unknown development. And the cost for hooking up to that between the trunk line and the projects is a major cost. So I just want to put that out there. You know, I use the word disingenuous and it still applies. As for the city of East Palo Alto, we've had a request to meet with them for some 4 months now, and they've been playing it off. So yeah, there's something afoot other than cooperation. And as we go forward, I'm confident it's going to be revealed should these be competent consultants doing this research. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scherzer. I will now call on Betsy Yanis. Betsy, please accept this request to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Ms. Yanis? Ms. Yanis, can you hear us?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Chair Slocum, good afternoon, and members, good afternoon. I want to point that I feel very surprised what it is going on, because our transparency as a board members and our volunteer to serve our community is undoubtable, and we are trying to do our best. We cannot allow that to serve new developers that is coming to our community to make money by their own. We have to charge our actual community members to pay for the upgrade to the projects. So I am so astonished that things like this are happening. I think they have enough funds to be able to fund their own projects. And since the very beginning, I went to different meetings and spoke with the developers, managers, and told them that they have first to come over to the sanitary district and see if we have the capacity to serve them. And that hasn't happened. I belong to the Public Works and Intergovernmental Committee as well. And we were talking with the city staff, and we were absolutely surprised that things like this are happening. So I would like to consider that we are a poor community and we don't have the funds necessary to upgrade the system to serve the new developers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Yanis. And we do have 2 more hands raised. I will now call on Gail Wilkerson, followed by Adrian. Please accept this request to unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. I'm a citizen of East Palo Alto. I have been since 1955. And I've been following this, and it's confusing. And I've come down to the conclusion that this was brought to LAFCo's attention because of disgruntled citizens that couldn't control the sanitation department. And one was Mark Dynam, who ran for to be on the sanitation, and he lost because of his personality and et cetera, et cetera. There are several other people who just moved into East Palo Alto. They also seem to be in the pockets of the developers. Now, like I said, I was confused about all of this. And on social media, they're bragging about LAFCo having the ability to dissolve the sanitation department. And then I found out that's not true. So like the others say, I don't know why is this going on? That's all I have to say.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Adrian Bryant. I am a resident of East Palo Alto and a ratepayer to the sanitation district. I too have been following most of these developments from the time they were first introduced, and I'm very concerned about the development. I am very interested in the community benefits that are afforded to us. And at the same time, I'm concerned with sanitation rates going up. So I look forward to some sort of peaceful resolution that can move these projects forward, but without rate increases to our city. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Bryant. And with that, Chairman Slocum, we do not have any more hands raised from the public.
Very good. Then we'll close off the public comment period for item 4. And it will now be time to call on each commissioner if there are questions or comments or perspectives that need to be shared. Maybe we could start with Commissioner Cosgrove, just go in alphabetic order.
Thank you very much, Chair Slocum. First, a comment. When this was first brought forward to move forward with the MSR, I did vote against it. And the reason was because we had a work plan and I wanted to stick to that work plan for this fiscal year. Now that the commission has moved forward with it, though, I do agree with the MSR being paid for by the developers. So that I do agree with. Just want to comment on that. And then a question to the executive officer. It was brought up by one of the, during the public comment period about the California Constitution. I believe that was sort of a comment on whether Prop 218 would be reviewed or analyzed. So my question is that would be, in a way, it would be looked at through the MSR, correct?
Correct. And implicit in the areas of determination for Government Code Section 56430 are matters such as rate setting, capital improvement plans, things like that. And so there's just implicit in that is that, number one, the consultants would look at, and the study would include the enabling legislation of the agencies under study, the Health and Safety Code, and of course, provisions of the Constitution that guide how rates can be established and how projects can be funded.
Thank you very much. I don't have any more comments or questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Draper.
Hi, I have 5 requests for slight modification to the contract. I have already talked with staff about those, and they say that all 5 can be accommodated, or they believe that all can be accommodated within the scope of work and the price. But for the record, I just wanted to share it with the commission and the public. The first item, and some of these comments reflect the public comments too. The scope of work says that they would look at other special districts to see how expansions of sewer services are approached and financed. In other words, other districts. But I was hoping that there could also be a review of cities or land use agencies relative to their approach and to the same topic. Because I'm sure that East Palo Alto isn't the only land use agency that, when they approve additional development, find infrastructure constraints. And when I look at the background of the consultants, they have a rich ability to draw from what they already know to provide us some insights of how do cities or land use agencies go forward with working with special districts when there's new development. So that's number one. The second was insights into the administrative capacity to do service expansions and studies and implement those activities. I'm thinking about, and the reason I say this administrative capacity is that I know of irrigation districts in the San Joaquin Valley. Some are very narrowly construed and their staffs are basically maintenance people, and other irrigation districts are very dynamic and very broad in how they approach their seemingly same activities. I don't know the answers for the 2 districts that we're looking at here. So if wanting to have insights onto the administrative capacity of the 2 districts to do these kinds of studies. Third was something that was touched on previously, is if the study could talk about limitations on existing funding. And we've heard constitutions, other measures, because I really am looking at it, is it a policy issue or a legal constraint? And some of you know that I worked at a special district and we were always cognizant of funding liabilities and funding constraints, but we did all kinds of future thinking and future capacity work. So there must be some ability to do that within the funding that people have. So again, if they could talk about those limitations. Fourth, I'm not clear if the capacity limits are the conduits or the plant. And so I'm hoping that, or both, I'm hoping that the study can clarify what is the problem. And I was hoping the final one is that the study could point to other alternatives to the concept of putting the effluent into pipes at the moment of use. I know that there are other types of engineering solutions like package plants and other things, and if there could be insights into alternatives. And so that concludes my remarks. And as I said, staff said they felt that all of these could be included within the scope of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Draper. Call on Commissioner Horsley.
I don't have any questions. I'm supportive of the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lohman.
Yeah, a couple quick comments. First of all, I'd like to support everything that Commissioner Draper just said. Also, those are all great suggestions. And also what Commissioner Cosgrove said about the California law aspect. Two other comments I have is I believe the statement was read that this MSR was launched because of the quote refusal of the East Palo Alto Sanitary District to support this project. I don't like that phrasing, the refusal. I believe the thing would be the refusal to do it for free. I believe that in this investigation of California law, as several people have already asked for, the East Palo Alto Sanitary District can't do that. You can't just give it for free, and they were told, oh, just put this on all of your ratepayers. I don't believe that's even legal. So again, as I asked before, and as everybody else is asking, we need a complete discussion and study of what the California law actually allows the district to do. I just had a quick question, and I'm also supporting moving this forward, but in the past, I don't recall all the MSRs I recall in the years I've been here have all been either done specifically by LAFCo personnel or by LAFCO paid consultants. I think it's fine that an outside group, but historically, have developers in the past paid for MSRs in the past? I'm supporting this moving forward. I'm just curious if it's a normal thing for the applicants to actually pay for the studies. No question to Martha, please.
For the chair, it's unusual to have a municipal service review funded by developers, but it's not unlike developers having to fund an EIR that is administered by the agency that is undertaking approval consideration of the project. And I would like to clarify that it was not stated that this process was started because the city of East Palo Alto refused. The word refused was not used. This is an impasse between the district and the city of East Palo Alto and the developers. And I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rohrbach.
Thank you. I supported the original motion to cause this MSR to come into fruition. I think it's really important that we get it going to straighten out the issues that are involved in the development. I support the idea that the developers should be paying for the MSR. I respect staff's ability to do due diligence to find the best consultant to actually produce this MSR. So I'm in support of this proposal very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. A very distinguished Vice Chair, Mr. O'Neill.
Hi, I have to say, being this low on the totem pole, a lot of the questions I had were answered, but the specific question I was curious about, and I think it's been addressed by other commissioners, is when you have to have an increase in capacity for the service to be performed, who pays for it? The existing ratepayers, the developer, et cetera. Since I think in Pacifica, we're going to be this is almost going to be a prequel to a development that's being kicked around here in Pacifica. So I'd kind of like to know the results of that for our own development and our own issue that's going to be happening. So, and I do support the resolution, and I supported it when we voted on it earlier this year also. So other than that, I'm done. No more questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just finally, I would just say I'm ready to vote. And so I would entertain a motion if Angelina would be so kind. Angela, I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve item number 4, consideration of authorization of contract with consulting firm of Berkshire and Associates in association with Policy Consulting Associates, LLC, for preparation of a municipal service review and sphere of influence update for the city of East Palo Alto Sanitary District, and West Bay Sanitary District, paid for by the developers mentioned in the report.
Second.
Thank you both. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes,
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Loman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll move to item number 5 now on our agenda. And it's to adopt the final work program and LAFCo budget for fiscal year 2021 to 22. And I believe staff will present on this matter.
Thank you, Chair Slocum and Commissioners. I'll be presenting the report on the fiscal year 21-22 budget and work program. The Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act requires that LAFCo holds a public hearing and adopt a proposed net operating budget by May 1st and then a final budget by June 15th. The item before the Commission today is the consideration of the final budget within that June 15th deadline. At the March 17th meeting, the Commission reviewed the draft budget. Since that time, there have been 3 revisions to the draft proposed budget. One of was to include $950 for IT charges to support LAFCo teleworking due to COVID-19 shelter in place. The second was an increase in cost by $700 for auditing charges due to carrying over those charges from fiscal year for the fiscal year 18-19 audit into this fiscal year. And that audit will be presented later at this meeting. And the final change was to include an estimate of the MSR cost, and that would be for $130,000, increase in consulting costs, and then a corresponding increase in that revenue for the MSR that was just voted on for the city of East Palo Alto Sanitary District, and the West Bay Sanitary District. As mentioned in the previous item, the service review is funded by developers, and therefore there'll be no impact on the 1/3 apportionment to LAFCo member agencies. So the appropriations budget has then been increased to $835,000 as $35,424 or $20, excuse me, an increase in $131,650 from the proposed draft budget. Again, the majority of the bulk of that money is the money that's slated for the consultant paid MSR or the developer paid MSR. This equates to an increase of $550 for the 1/3 apportionment. I do wish to note, though, that so the LAFCO regarding the reserve, the LAFCO reserve fund would utilize the proposed fund balance from the fiscal year 2021 budget. Staff recommends continuing the fund balance $61,131 and making no additional appropriations to the reserve. However, in concluding the report, there was a issue with when the staff accidentally withdrew the reserve amount from the total appropriations budget. So staff is recommending that the total budget be amended to $896,551 to include the reserve amount. in the budget document, and for the one-third apportionment, there would be no change. The reserve amount is shown correctly in the actual budget document. It was just inaccurately stated in the staff report. So staff would recommend amending the recommendation for that budget to again have the total budget be $896,000, $96,551, again including that reserve. The budget was noticed in the San Mateo County Times and sent to all managers and fiscal directors for the county, city, and special districts, and no comments were received on this item. And the budget committee unanimously recommended approval of both the draft and then the final proposed budget. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rob, for the presentation. It's appreciated. Madam Clerk, shall we take public comment on item number 5 at this juncture?
Yes, Chairman.
Go ahead.
So
Are there?
Yes, if anybody is calling from my phone, you may press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. And we did not receive any written comments for item number 5. And we might just want to give it a couple seconds for any hands to queue up, but at the moment, we do not have any hands raised from the public.
Very good. Then if we don't see any hands raised for public comment on item number 5, we'll now close the public comment period for that item and turn to the commission for questions or comments. And we'll start with Commissioner Cosgrove, please.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Draper.
No questions or comments.
Commissioner Horsley.
No questions or comments, and I will make the motion if no one else wants to make the motion.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lohman.
No comments.
Commissioner Rauerbach.
No questions.
Vice Chair O'Neill.
No comment.
I have no questions or comments, so Commissioner Horsley, maybe make the motion at this point.
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution, the recommended final budget for 2021-2022 budget of $896,551 with the inclusion of the Commission's reserve as proposed or with any of the other desired changes. And second of all, I would direct the executive officer to distribute the budget to the county, cities, and independent special districts and forward it to the county controller to invoice funding agencies.
Second.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Dr. Cosgrove, yes.
Commissioner Draper.
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley.
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman.
Yes.
Commissioner Rauerbach.
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill.
Yes.
And Chair Slocum votes yes. Thank you all. Item number 6 on the agenda is the adoption of a revised LAFCo schedule of processing fees. And here again, I believe the LAFCo staff will share an update with us.
Thank you, Chair Slocum. And so this is essentially a second reading of the update to the fees. This item was brought before the Commission at the March 17th meeting. The Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act governing LAFCo operations authorizes the Commission to establish a schedule of fees for processing applications and provides that the fees shall not exceed the estimate or reasonable cost for providing the service. The fees were last revised in 2019 as part of the fiscal year 1920 budget. Staff was directed to prepare and update for fees every 2 years. These are the fees were first updated in presented in March. There were no changes to the schedule from that meeting. The item was publicly noticed and no comments were received. State law requires that the Commission adopt the processing fees by resolution, and if approved, the new fee schedule will be applicable in 60 days, so that would be July 19th, 2021, if they are adopted by the Commission. And with that, I recommend opening the public hearing, accepting public comment, and then a resolution adopting the processing fees, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment for item number 6?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written public comment for item number 6. And we do not have any hands raised.
Very good. Then we'll move on to commissioner questions, and we'll start with Commissioner Cosgrove,
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Draper,
No questions.
Commissioner Horsley,
Questions?
Commissioner,
One question, actually, the 25% jump is pretty significant. I know that's because we've added some staffing, but it is a big jump.
If I may, through the chair. So the fees are then calculated based on staff time to process the applications. It also takes into consideration legal fees that are charged by county counsel to review the applications, and any kind of IT support that we also then need to process anything. So those are factored in. To some extent, the fees have actually been lowered due to some of the necessary steps in the process for processing an application being able to be done by Angela, the commission's clerk, instead of either me or Martha, so that which has a lower salary rate. So there has been some reduction for those costs, even though it is 25%. Again, it's for 2 years ago for those increases. So again, with other costs that are external to us rising, and also we are still in line with a number of other urban LAFCos for our processing schedule. We actually have a lot of flexibilities in some cases. Other LAFCos just have a flat number. Doesn't matter what the size is. We at least fluctuate between acreage, and we typically see, especially the West Bay annexations, no more than 5 acres. So while we have a flexible fee schedule, we do still try to keep it low for people so they can actually come to LAFCO and go through the process.
And thanks, Rob. Could you also clarify who pays the fee?
Certainly. So it would be the developer or the applicant that's proposing the service that's paying that fee. Even if it's an outside service agreement and a city's providing the service and technically they're the applicant, it's still the property owner that's desiring the service in most cases that'd be paying that fee.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Rob. Commissioner Lohman,
No more comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Rarbach,
No questions.
Vice Chair O'Neill.
No comments or questions.
I have no questions, and so I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to adopt the revised LAFCO schedule of processing fees.
Second.
Very good. Madam Clerk, do you want to call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you. Move to item number 7, which is the consideration of resolution authorizing an agreement with the County of San Mateo for staffing, for legal counsel, for office space and supplies for FY 21-22. Staff?
Thank you. Yes, you received a staff report dated May 12th regarding authorization of an agreement with the county for staffing, legal counsel, office space, and supplies for the 21-22 fiscal year. The report summarizes that the Commission's adopted budget includes funds for a contract with San Mateo County for staffing, facilities, and legal counsel. The agreement sets forth services provided by the county and includes updated language this year to more clearly describe services related to support for coordination of input of the LAFCO budget in the county budget document, billing services for shares, the apportioned shares to the county, cities, and special districts, human resources support, as well as other services. And both LAFCO Counsel and County Manager's Legal Counsel have reviewed the amendments to the contract. Staff recommends that the Commission adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the agreement with San Mateo County for the 21-22 fiscal year in the amount of $760,889. So you'll note that this is less than the total adopted budget because it doesn't include any funds for outside services, and it doesn't include the reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment on item 7?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments on item number 7. And I do not see any hands raised from the public.
Very good. We'll close public comment then. And rather than call each commissioner by name, does a commissioner or commissioners have questions or comments on this item?
None for me.
None.
Nope.
Nope.
I actually had one question, if I could, Martha. In the material, does it include the cost for ISD for information services?
Yes, it does.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's conduct a roll call.
You need a motion, I think.
Motion.
I mean, a motion, I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make the motion to by resolution authorize the chair to execute the attached agreement with the County of San Mateo for support services in the amount of $760,889 for the fiscal year of 2021-2022.
Well done. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman,
Yes.
Commissioner Warback,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you so much. Move to item number 8, which is a consideration of approval of the draft audit prepared by R.J. Ricciardi Incorporated of San Mateo County Local Agency Formation Commission's financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Rob, are you going to present on this?
Actually, I will be.
Martha, okay, thank you.
Thank you. So yes, you've received a staff report dated May 12th that includes background on the commission's budget being moved from the county general fund to the trust fund, which required independent audit since the budget was no longer part of the county's general fund, which is audited. The R.J. Ricciardi Inc.'s audit did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls or any instances of non-compliance. They did make one recommendation, was that trial balances and cash balances be reviewed on a monthly basis. That recommendation arises from an occurrence in which a delay in reconciling an incorrect posting occurred. And in fiscal year 2018-19, when LAFCo funds were transferred from the organization that it was in the general fund 35700 to organization number 35710, a trust fund outside of the general fund, there was an amount of $129,109 of LAFCO funds that were inadvertently left in the old fund or the old organization 35700. And there was a delay in correcting this. So it was caught in a timely manner, but there was a delay in actually correcting it. And it was done after the close of the fiscal year. So as noted in the staff report, staff continues to review the monthly reports for LAFCO accounts and works with county staff to reconcile accounts. In addition, as part of the 21-22 work plan, LAFCO will be, staff will be providing quarterly financial updates at your commission hearings to allow for opportunity to review how LAFCO is performing financially. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Do we have public comment, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments for item number 8, and we do not have any hands raised from the public.
Very good. Turn to commissioner comments or questions. Any questions or comments?
None for me.
None.
Okay, how about a motion?
So move to, by resolution, approve the draft audit prepared by R.J. Ricciardi Incorporated, excuse me, of the San Mateo Local Agency Formation Commission's financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Very good. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes,
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Loman,
Yes.
Commissioner Warback,
yes,
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. Move to item number 10, which is adoption of the LAFCo budget policy. And staff will present this item.
Through the chair, we do have another auditing item, item 9.
Item 9, sorry. Did I skip item 9? Okay, we'll take up item 9 now. My notes don't show it and my computer is not with me right now.
Let me, it's a short item. It's actually the consideration of authorizing the executive officer to execute an engagement letter with the same consulting firm for auditing services for the next, for the current fiscal year. And this was a staff report included in your packet. And it's requesting that you authorize an engagement letter, or we received an engagement letter for RJ Ricciardi for auditing services. And the letter proposes a fee of $7,700 for the, which would be payable in 2021. And it's the same amount for the, that was charged for the audit that you just reviewed. And so the recommendation is that by motion, you authorize the executive officer to execute the engagement letter with RJ Ricciardi in the amount of $7,700 for the year ending June 30, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Madam Clerk, do we have public comments?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments for item number 9, and we do not have any hands raised from the public.
Very good. We'll turn to commissioner questions.
none.
None.
Okay. Maybe somebody could make a motion, please. Commissioner Horsley, go ahead.
I'll make the motion authorizing the executive officer to execute the attached engagement letter with RJ Ricciardi for auditing services for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yeah,
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Loman,
Yes.
Commissioner Warback,
yes,
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item number 10, which is adoption of LAFCO budget policy, and staff will present.
Yes, thank you. As noted in the May 12th staff report, the commission's contracted with the County of San Mateo for staffing, office space, general services. And as part of the contract, since 1996, and as part of the contract, the commission's adopted budget is maintained in the county's budget system, and all payroll and financial transactions, accounts payable, accounts receivable are processed by county staff, fiscal staff, whether it's someone in the planning department where we reside, or a county budget office, or the controller's office. And in all cases, the accounting practices allow for segregation of duties and best practices and procedures that are adopted by the County of San Mateo. Because the audit kind of helped us arrive at this, but to better memorialize these practices, along with establishing reserve level, the budget adoption practice, it was recommended that we draft policies that would be used by anyone, whether any staff or the county office staff as well. And the budget policy was reviewed by the budget committee. It was placed on the March agenda, and it was reissued, recirculated to all cities and special districts in the county, and is now before you again for recommended approval. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for that report. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments for item number 10. And we also do not have any hands raised from the public. Thank you.
Very good. Then we'll close down public comment for this item and turn to commissioner questions. Any questions?
no.
No.
Nope.
Very good. Does somebody care to make the motion?
I move that we adopt the LAFCO budget policy as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes,
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Loman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbeck,
yes,
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item number 11. Item number 11 is adoption of updates to procedures for outside service agreement policies relating to city water extensions. Staff will present on this item.
Thank you, Chair Slocum. In 2019, the commission adopted an outside service agreement policy for instances which a city or a district is requesting water or sewer service from a property owner to a property owner outside of an agency's boundaries. LAFCo can authorize these extensions if the territory is within the sphere of influence of the service provider, or to address any kind of public health threat that the property might be addressing or facing. For incorporated cities or incorporated areas that receive water services from another municipality, though, it's not anticipated that this provision of this water would require a detachment from one city or an annexation to another. And so the policy kind of had a little bit of a blind spot on that type of situation. We have areas within San Mateo County that are served by cities and within another jurisdiction. So areas within the town of Woodside are served with water service from the city of Redwood City. There is no anticipation of this boundary change for this type of service. So section 56133, which governs outside service agreements, was not necessarily applicable in these situations. So policy would allow those service extensions without the need for an application to LAFCo without approval for 56133. This draft policy was brought before the commission at the March meeting. At that meeting, or prior to that meeting, the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, or BOSCWA, had clarified that the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission alone sets the water service boundaries for agencies that are customers of SFPUC. And that BOSCWA was not involved in that service boundary setting. So there was a reference to BOSCWA in the policy that was removed. Subsequent to that March meeting, the policy was sent out to all cities that the policy might apply to. And on May 5th, a comment letter from the city of Redwood City was received. The letter focused on the requirement for written correspondence to LAFCo to confirm that the water extension was in fact exempt from 56133 and it complies with this policy. And Redwood City staff stated this requirement could present an administrative burden to both the water provider, the applicant, and to others. And they requested that either the requirement be removed to send written notification, or that there's some kind of change, essentially being optional. And in recognition of this potential process that could delay an extension of water service that would be exempt from LAFCo, LAFCo has proposed to change the requirement to send written notice and confirmation from LAFCo to LAFCo. It now instead states that LAFCo would still request a service provider extending service in compliance with this policy, essentially send a courtesy notification upon approval of the service. This is again to allow some confirmation from LAFCo to make sure this the connection is actually exempt, but it also better keeps our record whole in case there's a question either from another agency or member of the public about that particular connection, so that LAFCo is aware of it and can respond to any kind of inquiries appropriately. No other comments from agencies or interested parties were received. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, are there public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments on item number 11. And I do not see any hands raised for this item from the public.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner, questions or comments on this item?
No.
None for me.
none.
Very good. Madam Clerk, do you want to, or does somebody want to make a motion? I'm sorry.
I move on item 11 that we adopt the updates to procedures for outside service agreement policy relating to city water extensions.
Second,
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Loman,
yes,
Commissioner Rohrbach,
yes,
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you so much. We'll move now on to item number 12, which is a legislative and policy committee report. I'm not sure who presents on this.
Thank you, Chair Slocum. I'll be presenting on both 12A and 12B. So 12A is the legislative report. LAFCo is currently tracking 32 bills, 6 of which LAFCo is in as stated support of. The first one is SB 273, which would allow wastewater municipal agencies to have additional powers related to stormwater runoff and management. SB 274, which would require public agency to email agendas or agenda items to anyone who requests them, instead of having to physically mail those agendas right now. And the other item that I'll note of that the commission or the LAFCo is in support of is AB 1581, which is item 12B on the agenda, which I'll talk about. But that's the omnibus bill for the Cortese-Knox Harrisburg Local Government Reorganization Act. There's a draft letter of support that San Mateo LAFCo would be presenting. Will be presenting in our next item. LAFCo has taken position on 2 bills, which they have stated they oppose unless amended, and that's SB 403 and AB 1053. SB 403 would authorize the State Water Resources Control Board to order consolidations of a water system or a district that serves a disadvantaged community or consistently fails to provide adequate supply of safe drinking water. And LAFCo has asked for amendments regarding coordination with the groundwater sustainability agencies, which again, we don't necessarily have that in San Mateo County, but is very prevalent in the Central Valley and southern parts of California. Limiting the number of connections added as part of this consolidation, and a clarification of LAFCo's role during any potential consolidation. AB 1053 is specific to LA County and its city selection committee. So not necessarily of interest to San Mateo, but of interest to LAFCo and LA LAFCo particularly. There are other bills that LAFCo currently has as a watch, and that's also including AB 959, which was presented at our March 17th meeting, which is sponsored by Assemblymember Mullen, which would authorize 4 open space districts, including Mid-Penn, to use the public nuisance ordinance and the ability to establish procedures for abating nuisances. And again, that's because those districts currently really only have criminal code options and not a public nuisance ordinance or civil code options, civil code options to pursue any kind of recourses, and not being able to use the nuisance ordinance to address issues on their property. And that concludes the legislative report. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that, and then I can do a brief presentation on AB 1581.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have commissioner questions for Rob? No questions. Do we take public comment on this, Martha?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have hands raised or any written correspondence?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments for item 12A, and we do not have any hands raised from the public.
Okay, very good. Rob, do you want to continue on then?
Yes, thank you, Chair. In your agenda packet, there is a draft letter of support for AB 1581, and this is the annual omnibus bill that includes technical changes to the Cortese-Knox Harrisburg Act. These changes help the commissions implement the act and they come up when there's small inconsistencies that are found or clarifications that are needed to be made in the law to make it as clear as possible, both for staff, members of the commission, and for members of the public. A number of these changes involve the removal of county-specific requirements regarding notifications or procedures, and they do not impact San Mateo County, LAFCo in any way, because they're specific to, say, Marin or Santa Cruz LAFCOs or Los Angeles. There are also certain sections that are moved in the code to provide for better accessibility and clarification of the code. There are areas where there's a reference to one section of the code that's in a completely different area instead of maybe the following section where it actually is referenced. So there's just been internal movement within code sections. So San Mateo LAFCO has drafted a support letter for this, and we would recommend by motion to the commission authorize the executive officer to send a letter of support to the bill's author and the various committees.
Thank you for the report. Madam Clerk, you said we have no public comment. Is that still true? I'm assuming.
That is still true, Chairman. We have no hands raised.
Very good. Then we'll need a motion. Maybe the motion could include 12A and 12B if that's proper.
I believe the motion would be for 12B, but Rob, please.
That would be correct. The motion is just specific to authorize the letter under 12B.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification.
So
So do you want to?
I
Thank
move
you.
that we, I move that item number 12B, support the letter for AB 1581.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Cosgrove,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairman Slocum.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Your motion passes.
Thank you very much. Move to item 13 now, which is Commissioner or staff reports. Does anybody have anything to share on item 13?
I have a request.
Yes, Commissioner.
I would like staff, as soon as they can, share with LAFCo, and I'm sure this is the question for all public meetings, is when it's projected we'll be going back to face-to-face meetings, just so that we can adjust our schedules and everything like that. So when it's possible, if we could know that. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. I believe Martha wanted to share some thoughts on that exact matter. Martha, do you want to share that at this point in time?
Sure. I did want to let the commission know that the County of San Mateo has announced that the county office buildings will open to the public on June 15th, consistent with the state's opening. The offices will be opened in a kind of a modified manner to allow shifts of employees to come in to make sure that workspaces aren't overcrowded, and also provisions for lobbies to not be overcrowded. After June 15th, at some point, I anticipate we'll hear from the county manager and the Board of Supervisors, the clerk of the Board of Supervisors, on when the board chambers will reopen and be available for us to use. And we'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you, Martha. Do we have other commissioner points? Staff, anything additional? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I was nodding no. Thank you.
No, okay, very good, very good. Move to item number 14 now, which is adjournment, I believe. The time is, what's the time, Rob? Thank you.
3:42.
We'll adjourn at 3:42 p.m. and our next regular scheduled commission meeting will be held on July 21st, 2021. And thank you, everybody, for attending. It's appreciated. And thank you, staff, and thank you to the public, the members of the public who shared their thoughts with us today. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.